Welcome back. We're talking taxes. Kevin Robinson from Robinson Tax and Accounting Services, Mark Stieber from Jackson Hewitt Tax Prep Services. All right, so Mark, this person says, how do I report money paid to me through Venmo?
Well, there's a big change in the law coming this year, but not last year. So if you're talking about 2023, you don't really have to report just because it was on Venmo. You really have to report income that you earned. If you got money because a friend sent you some reimbursement for a lunch, that's not necessarily income from a business activity. On the other hand, if you did get paid through Venmo on a business activity, you should keep up with not only that, but all of your proceeds, cash, Venmo, PayPal, however you got paid. That's what's reportable as your gross receipts. But just because you got money through an electronic platform doesn't necessarily mean it's taxable income, but it also could. So it kind of depends. Now for 2024, a new rule kicks in that if you got more than 5,000 on its way to the next year rule of 600, then you may get a 1099K, and that's a whole nother bag of issues that you'll have to contend with. But just simply getting the money through an electronic platform doesn't create taxable income. But it also doesn't exclude that it is taxable income if you have gainful activity, hobby, full-time, part-time, or other.
That's right. All right. So if you're making money off of that, that's when you need to claim it. All right. Kevin, this person says I was gifted $10,000. Do I have to pay taxes on that?
Well, a very good question, Tanya. The question is, what is the $10,000 they're gifted? Was it just from the bank, a cash account in the bank, money market? That itself would not be taxable unless they invested the money and earned, interest income and dividends on it. So it would depend on what they're gifted. Depends on whether or not it would be taxable, which would be, again, talk to a professional about that. But just cash in the bank by itself, no, that would not be.
Interesting. Okay. Mark, this person says if your age is 82 and you're in a nursing home, do you still pay taxes?
I'm afraid it's an income-based test whether you owe taxes or not. Now, that being said, there are higher standard deductions for seniors and depends on what other income you have. But just because you've aged up, and I like that rule, I'd call your congressman, you don't really get excluded from either paying tax or even paying Social Security taxes if you work part-time. Even if you're 80 and you're still working on the side, you're going to pay Social Security taxes. It's just the way it is. Shouldn't be, but it is.
Okay. This person says, how do I file my annual federal tax filings for limited liability companies? It's due tonight. Kevin, what would you tell this person if it's due tonight?
I'd say file extension right away for that Form 1065 if they're more than a single member, if they're partnership. So file the extension. If they don't have it done, it's due today, or the extension is due, and get it e-filed by midnight.
Okay, you got some tax preparers that work late in the afternoon and in the evening, so you might want to get some help there. All right, Mark, this person says, my mom passed away. Her house became mine because she signed it over to me. I sold the house after a year for less than appraisal. I received a 1099 for the sale price. What do I need to know about capital gains?
Well, there's some good news and not good news. Upon the transfer from the mom to the beneficiary, you should have got a step up in the basis, which is how you calculate your gain, to the fair market value. If you subsequently sold that sometime later, you may in fact have a capital loss, some of which may even be deductible. So I would call that one of those big changes that you really do need to either understand the rules or seek out a professional. You shouldn't have a taxable event, but you very well may have a tax benefit. So don't overlook that and just ignore it. You could be sitting on a real opportunity there.
Okay. All right. So we just did a story about the NC treasurer, about how sometimes you can have unclaimed cash and property, things of that nature, right? And this person says they have some unclaimed property from a health insurance company. It's a reimbursement because I overpaid them. Do I have to include that as taxable income when I get that from the state treasurer's office?
If it's reimbursement, then there's documentation for it, Tanya. I would not think a reimbursement would be any kind of taxable event.
Okay. All right. This person says, if you had to take your IRA to pay for skilled nursing care and you own nothing and you're on Medicare and Medicaid and you have no money to pay the taxes on the IRA money, will the IRS ever excuse the taxes, Mark?
Yeah, there's some good news and some not good news. The first thing is the IRS is not this overwhelming monster that people think it is. There's a variety of both legal and even, case, facts, and circumstances forgiveness that the IRS can do. But you can't just wait for them to do that. You need to take some action. You need to either file a claim that you can't pay or put it on an installment plan. The one thing that I would tell you not to do is just to ignore it and try to hope it goes away. That's not how the IRS really works. So if you think you owe some money money and you did in fact get an IRA required minimum distribution and it is, reportable income, first, it may not be taxable. There's a lot of tax breaks in there for seniors and for all taxpayers. But if it is taxable and you just don't have the money, you can file a hardship claim and you can do all sorts of other tax forgiveness programs or get it on an installment plan and pay over time. But ignoring it, that just has them assess a penalty and interest, and then ultimately they'll levy whatever assets you have left. Don't ignore it. But there are some really good opportunities that you can take advantage of.
Okay. All right. We're going to take a quick break. We've got one more segment here, so you can get your question in, 336-379-5775.